What is a code audit?
Code auditing prevents us from kind of going down as a bad pathway.
You're kind of looking for the red flags.
So we're looking for problem areas that could produce future problems.
Thanks for joining today, Cody. I wanted to talk code audits a little bit. So let's just start by defining that. What is a code audit?
So a code audit can be a number of things within a single practice of code auditing. For the most part, it is often used during the development process when coders are writing features and et cetera, et cetera. As they push code up and those features get completed, their peers review that to ensure quality of the code base and maintaining standards within that. A lot of the time, programmers, they're working on very small microscopic pieces of the code, and that kind of obscures the macro idea. And with code auditing, it kind of makes sure that whatever they're contributing to the project, it ends up being homogeneous with whatever else was going on at the time as the project was architected, and that it all makes sense as a cohesive entity.
Cool.
Yeah.
So bringing it down to like the Bixley level, why do we do code audits? Like, why would we do them here?
Well, there's a couple of different things we do with code audits, because there's obviously the development practice that we were just talking about, but then there's the idea of, let's say there's a legacy project that's coming into our ecosystem, right? If that comes in, we have no idea what's happened over the last, 4, 5, 10 years, whatever, how long it's been in
Even
existence.
6 months, depending on the project.
Even 6 months, if it's been a really active development process, that's a lot of history we need to know about before we say that we can complete anything in any amount of time. So borrowing a metaphor, the idea that if you're going to buy a house, you typically would want to have an inspection done before you buy that house, which is pretty much a required case for pretty much anyone in that situation.
Sure.
Right?
And best practice.
And best practice, yes.
Yeah.
And then counterpoint to that, much like the same house analogy here, if you want to add a room or any type of large fixture to your house, you typically would get inspections done as well. It's kind of part of the process, typically the permitting inspections, but tomato, tomato when it comes to that metaphor. But that's the idea, that you'd want to offer inspections both when you get it and when you're adding to it, to make sure everything was done correctly and to code.
Gotcha. And so again, playing the house analogy here, when you get those inspections back, you're kind of looking for the red flags or the things to be aware of. If you're like, I know that this house was built X amount of years ago and there was certain coding standards or building standards with this analogy that were not followed, you can kind of look out for those things. So is that kind of the stuff that we're looking to get back when we're auditing these legacy style projects? Find the red flags, things to look out for?
Not only that, because that is correct, 100% we're looking for violations of standards deviations or things that were considered okay whenever the code was made, house, so to speak, and that are not okay now because they conflict with certain ideologies. But also, we're looking for problem areas that could produce future problems, much like how if you're getting an addition to your house, as we had been talking about, if there's an issue with how the roof overlaps or something, it may not leak right now, but it might in 5 years. That's the idea, that code auditing prevents us from kind of going down as a bad pathway. It kind of catches us before we've invested a lot of time and money into mistakes.
Right. You're using a particular version of Angular that might be end of life in a couple years, or, again, this best practice, like you said, was followed, and now that's not the case anymore. It's not that it's bad or that it's wrong, but you have to know how to build on top of that. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these kind of ideals that we're talking through, standards, looking out for red flags, how do you balance that structure within a project that kind of should be there versus the ideals and overall outcome and maybe market growth of an actual project?
Yeah, so it's kind of a spectrum of sorts. Ultimately, the projects that probably won't benefit from code auditing and general code review process are typically the ones that are so small, that need to go so quick, that quality no longer really matters. You just need to get the goal done, and you don't necessarily care about longevity. You just need that thing to work because you need to get to market, and as things go, you may have money down the road to just rebuild the whole thing anyway. If you're going that fast, you can probably do it quickly with a larger team anyway down the road. So that kind of project does not really benefit, because it's just going to slow you down and increase your overhead. That said, effectively every other project, as long as there's more than one team member, because one guy can't review his own code, will benefit from code reviews, in my opinion. In the long run, you'll prevent yourself from having a lot of mistakes done and making sure that the code is homogeneous, so that, let's say, even if you left that dev team or otherwise completely paused your project and then came back to it months later, the whole thing is homogeneous. So when someone goes in and tries to learn how your code base works, it won't just be, oh, they're learning in this one section, but then, oh, you asked for a slightly different feature, so then they have to go look at that other code, and it's completely different, you know? So that prevents that scenario from happening, so that in the long run, your project is sustainable and can grow with your business at the pace you want. And in addition to that, a lot of the time, if your code is messy, you end up having to spend a lot of time working on very, very small features that seem like they should be done a lot quicker way down the road.
Got it.
Yeah. So this prevents all those kind of unfortunate scenarios that will strangle long-term project growth.
And obviously, because no project is the same and no particular market vertical is the same, you're still following those standards. You're trying to kind of keep the ideas kind of homogenous, as you said, to make sure that you can build off it. But I mean, it also is somewhat, I'm sure, unique with all these code audits for each project.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, every project is going to be different. And like I said, there's variance for the level of adherence to the different code standards that there are. And in addition to that, that varies between every project, because many projects are made out of both different languages, but also different frameworks and different ideologies within the same framework. There's a cornucopia of everything. Yeah. But you just have to follow what makes sense based off of the assessment of your long-term project goals.
Awesome. And so code audits are great. They're extremely important. And we just have to know that balance that versus the outcome of what you're trying to do with your company, but it's really beneficial, so it's something you should probably do.
Yeah, and in addition to it being very beneficial, unlike other areas in the sector that is known as DevOps, which this kind of falls under,
right?
Much like how unit tests are extremely valuable, but they're very high effort. You got to write them all. It pretty much, I wouldn't say it doubles your execution time for features, but it nearly does. Whereas code reviews are kind of just at the end of every feature, someone has to spend 10 to 15 minutes reviewing someone's code. That is a very low investment for a very long-term and sustainable benefit.
So code teams of one don't generally work with the code audit.
Oh,
you need at least two people.
You do need at least two people. It's kind of like patting yourself on the back if you're doing your own code reviews.
Cool. Any other closing thoughts or kind of insights on code audit? Otherwise, I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, I think we did. I think for the most part, the idea is that they're extremely valuable, they're low effort, and they will maintain your project growth rate as long as you need it, ideally, as long as you're fulfilling those requirements. So code audits, get them.
Thanks so much for joining us for that episode of Bixley Tech Tuesday, all about code audits. If you have any questions at all about what we've talked about today, go ahead and leave them in the comments section down below. In addition, don't be afraid to check out our website, bixley.com. We have a free download available on our website as well as in the description below, and you can even sign up for a free consultation with Chris about your next app idea.